Sri Lanka prepares to join the global economy.
පිටිසර ගම්බද ග්‍රාමීය ජනතාව සමග එක්ව කරන සුළු සහ මධ්‍යම පරිමාණයේ ව්‍යාපෘති තමයි අපේ රටට වඩාත්ම ඕවින්නේ.
MP Sunil Handunnethi walks out of COPE meeting requesting the members to appoint an interim chairman.
Police launch manhunt in search of suspects of the murder of 4 in Matakulya.
Court determines that the FCID is legitimate.
Good evening and welcome to Primetime News. I'm Sandra Ferdinando.
And I'm Bernadine Jazz Singha. Very good evening to you. The 12th village built under the Samata 7 housing program was declared open by President Maithripala Sirisena today.
The new model village in Dimbulagala, Polonnaru was conceptualized by Housing and Construction Minister Sajith Premadasa. The village, which comprises of 25 homes, has been named after the late Venerable Dimbulagala Sirisila Lanka Rothera. The President also symbolically presented deeds to the beneficiaries of the housing program, while spectacles and dry rations were also distributed parallel to this event. Housing assistance was presented to low-income families, while housing assistance amounting to 500,000 rupees each was presented to the families of 53 kidney patients. The Pibidemo Polonnaru initiative, which we commenced last year, is a giant project that will fulfill most of the development shortcomings in the district. Roads are being built in the district. Shortcomings at close to 240 schools are being addressed. Rural hospitals too are undergoing complete renovation. New buildings are being constructed and equipment is being provided. At the same time, the drinking water crisis is also being addressed, and by 2018 this problem will be resolved. A foreign project provided by the Chinese government has been in operation since January. As a government, we will give the necessary priority for development across the country, just as in Polonnaru, and we have commenced such giant development projects. I believe that uplifting living standards of the rural populace and small and medium scale projects for the rural populace are more suitable for our country than giant investments.
Within 3 months of the general election, we commenced work on the 38 Udagamana villages. In 2016, work commenced on 148 new Udagamana villages, and the work is drawing to a close. We hope to commence work on 500 Udagamana villages in 2017. Your Excellency, I am ashamed to say that the Housing Ministry did not have statistics on the housing needs of the people. There was no clear data. 2.4 million families were affected by the housing issue. There are only 5.1 million families in the country. 50% have serious housing problems.
Court determined today that the FCID, or Police Financial Crimes Investigation Division, is a legally established institution. Now, Fourth Magistrate Lanka Jayaratne concluded today that the FCID was established by the Inspector General of Police via a gazette notification in line with the police ordinance.
The magistrate made this determination rejecting the submissions made by attorneys representing MP Jayantha Samaravira in a case filed against him by the FCID. The attorneys had submitted that the FCID is not legally empowered to arrest suspects and produce them in court. While the court disregarded this argument, MP Jayantha Samaravira was released on bail with the condition that he cannot travel overseas. The bail application filed by Sarath Veerawangsa, who is also accused of misusing state vehicles, was rejected today. Sarath Veerawangsa has been returned to remand custody until the 7th of this month.
COPE Chairman MP Sunil Handunnethi walked out of the committee meeting held in Parliament today, advising the members to appoint an interim chairman. The Committee on Public Enterprises, or COPE, met at the parliamentary complex today to discuss amendments put forward by a group of committee members to draft report of the COPE chairman on the controversial central bank bond issue.
The COPE committee met in Parliament today, as well as when we discussed the report drafted under my chairmanship. While one group of members unanimously approved the draft report, the UMP group had continued to include amendments to the report. In the end, the group had also attempted to influence the Auditor General to change the conclusions that he had reached. As noted in the draft report, these were not my conclusions. These were the conclusions of the Auditor General in his report. Such a request cannot be made, and I informed them that it should not be done, and that If they were not in agreement, their opposition to the sections they are not in agreement with can be noted in the report. There can be other documents and the other information put forward, but the Auditor General's conclusion is the conclusion drawn following an audit. I could not continue to function as chairman in such a backdrop, and thereby I notify the members to appoint an interim chairman of their choice and draft a report the way they want it. I took this decision with responsibility. I do not have a need to find anyone guilty or not guilty. Justice must be done in terms of the funds of the people of this country. The only matter we are looking at is whether this transaction was carried out with minimal harm to the state and the central bank. We are not doing this to safeguard an individual. I cannot remain there in a situation where they are attempting to influence the Auditor General to change the conclusions reached in an audit. They can appoint a chairman of their own and compile a report the way they want to do it. They can put forward the recommendations they want. As the chairman of COPE, I am duty-bound to present a report to Parliament. I am prepared to table a report they compile, but I cannot remain in the committee while they draft a report the way they want it. Therefore, I got up and left. I sat in the committee from 10:30 this morning to 5 o'clock in the evening. Over many days, I worked honestly in the committee along with the office and the Auditor General who carried out their duty. There was no interference. I must specially note that if the Auditor General is accused of presenting a politicized report, that is a serious issue. Not only Gamni Abesundara as an individual, we have responsibility to safeguard and uphold the office of the Auditor General of this country. The Auditor General extended his assistance to COPE and Parliament. None of us can belittle him. His opinion cannot be belittled. If they are not in agreement, their opposition can be noted in the report. I left the committee meeting because I could no longer accept what was happening.
Now, representatives of political parties allege that the plan to present an additional report to the COPE report is a political strategy.
We can see that the operation to protect the culprits of the central bank bond scam is in full swing. A group led by Sujiva Senasinghe is now trying to influence the Auditor General to amend his report. Today, the UMP is standing in the way of the investigation into this well-known fraud. Not only are they using their power to influence hard-working officials who are trying to protect public assets, such as the Auditor General, they have never spoken of how they could punish the perpetrators. They are simply trying to protect one individual and his son-in-law. No matter what the UMP puts out through COPE, we will go before the people, we will go before the courts, and we will reveal who stood by these thieves involved in the bond scam and who used their money to fund overseas visits. For the first time in the history of Parliament, tradition has been broken and 2 or 3 reports are to be submitted through COPE. This is a deplorable situation. They have still been unable to appoint a committee of Parliament and submit that report to the country. It has been said that they are in favour of everything with one exception. They say that Arjuna Mahendran must be saved from this and they are trying to put forward another report. If they are opposed to it, then as MPs, they have the right to put forward a separate report. But that is another matter. They are breaching all traditions and are now attempting to draft a report based on their party's opinion. If this happens, then we can say with our eyes shut that such a report would be pointless. It will go to Parliament, but when it comes up for a vote, the House will be divided and the report will not be adopted. Certain MPs are trying to create a situation where this will happen. If 2 reports are put forward, then the President must appoint a commission led by a person at the level of a Supreme Court Justice. Not a retired justice, but a sitting justice within a period of 2 months. All that needs to be done is to go over the testimony that was given under the oath. I do not think any company in world history, let alone in Sri Lanka, has made a profit of over 10 billion in 1.5 years. Isn't the TNA represented in COPE? It is being said that the committee will present 2 reports on the central bank bond issue. Isn't this an attempt to protect the wrongdoers?
The Tamil National Alliance will discuss this and reach a decision. Thank you.
The Prime Minister tried to reappoint Arjuna, didn't he? Didn't the Prime Minister appoint a committee of his henchmen to inquire into this? A report was brought to Parliament acquitting Arjuna Mahendran and denying that a loss has been caused, wasn't there? So what did the Prime Minister do? He tried to cover up the fraud. Eventually, I filed a complaint with the Inspector General of Police. In that complaint, I have charged that Arjuna Mahendran knowingly caused serious harm to state property and assets and that the Prime Minister was involved in it. I said I am prepared to testify. Did they record my testimony? Did they record a statement and ask me how I know this. Arjuna Mahendran testified under oath before COPE that he did this on the instructions of the Prime Minister. There cannot be 3 or 4 reports. There is only one report, that is the chairman's report, and if a majority of the members have approved it, then the other group can say that they are opposed and submit a separate report. But there is only one COPE report. If according to this report Arjuna Mahendran was involved and he is the accused, then why did the Prime Minister try to influence the President to reappoint him? The country suffered millions of losses due to the central bank bond scam. It is very clear that the members of the UMP are trying to protect the perpetrators of this fraud. The COPE chairman presented his report based on the Auditor General's report and the evidence provided by central bank employees. However, the UMP MPs have taken a stance against this report in a bid to clear the name of Arjuna Mahendran. It has come to a point where they are attempting to influence the Auditor General to alter the contents of his report and recommendations. A doubt arises as to whether the money that was passed between Arjuna Mahendran and perpetual treasuries was distributed among these people as well. The current activities within COPE are disgusting and appalling.
2
UMP MPs from the Colombo district who took a firm stance on good governance have taken a stand against the Auditor General's report and had pressured him to alter his report. We are saddened because doctors who call themselves economists and who earlier stood for the Auditor General's department have revealed their true colours. They are not allowing the Auditor General to function freely, but they stand to protect perpetual treasuries that earned a profit of 5.2 billion rupees in 1 year. They have launched a vicious political campaign against the Auditor General. We call on the government to ensure that COPE is able to freely present its findings to Parliament.
Meanwhile, civil society representatives and beneficiaries of the Gammadda initiative also weighed in on the issue today.
The government, which said that the thieves would be chased out, that their stolen wealth would be seized and that it would be used to eradicate poverty and hunger and generate 1 million jobs, now has its arms around the rogue's shoulders. Fearing that their own thievery will be caught, the current government is now actively intervening in a major project to harm the country. Just because we are in the villages, we are not ignorant of these issues. We know who is involved in this. They will never be able to return to these villages. We will not let them. At the rural level, the people are facing numerous hardships today. They are not inquiring into any of this. They are not doing anything for the people. Today, the people who caused the bond scam involving billions of rupees are using that money for their own luxury. None of them are committed to assisting the rural populace in any way. They have not even committed themselves to going to court in search of justice.
Those in power are wasting money in this way. They are reaping the benefits and bringing prosperity to their children and their families. This is not what should happen.
Amidst turbulence times in the political sphere, now the project, which was initiative under the Gammadda 100-day initiative, was declared open today, a mere 18 days after the project was launched.
The Gammadda 100-day initiative, with the people, for the people.
The fishermen of the Thota area in Thalimanna, who've lived their lives without proper sanitary facilities for nearly 40 years, were given this basic necessity under the Gammadda 100-day initiative today. Malini Ratnayaka provided financial assistance for the project. Children of the Nabadagaswava village in Brambava are forced to showcase their abilities and skills on bare ground due to the shortcomings in the only community hall for the entire village. Under the Gammadda 100-day initiative, this community hall was repaired and opened to the people today. The project is sponsored by ICL Marketing Private Limited together with the Sri Lanka Army.
The Colombo Crimes Division says it has identified the suspects in the murders of 4 people in last night's shooting in Sumitipura Matakulia. Several police teams have been deployed to apprehend the suspects.
Though calm and silent today, this ground that you see behind me was a location of an LA match last evening organized by a group of youth in the area. 4 people, including the group that was shot at, were here, this location where I'm currently standing, having a get-together or a small party. From what you see here, you can see signs of their presence. They were here till late last evening, and while they were on their way home, about 500 meters away from here, they were ambushed and shot at.
The 4 victims, including Nuwan Sanjeeva alias Chuti Okkun and another group, departed these premises in a new car, a 3-wheeler and a motorcycle. At 7:20 p.m, Samitpura was rattled by the sound of gunfire. 7 people fell to the ground. 4 of them were dead before they reached the National Hospital in Colombo. The group was shot at in front of Roshan's home, a person who is alleged to be a member of an underworld gang. Several vehicles parked on the road were also damaged in the shooting. These images show how a bullet passed through a nearby 3-wheeler. Police believe that a T-56 assault rifle and 9mm handguns were used in the shooting. Preliminary investigations revealed that the shooting was the result of a long-standing conflict between 2 underworld groups. Inquiries made by Newsfirst revealed that the conflict dates back to July 2014, when the father of the alleged underworld member was hacked to death by an unidentified group. Another murder occurred on the same day. Melanie Kumari, the mother of Nuwan Sanjeeva alias Chuti Okkun, who was killed yesterday, was murdered on the same day as Roshan's father. Chuti Okkun, who had been in remand custody, was released about a month ago. Police suspect that the shooting of Chuti Okkun and his companions yesterday may be related to the murders which occurred in July 2014. The suspect in last night's shooting has fled the area, and the police recorded a statement from his wife today. 3 others who were injured in last night's shooting continue to receive treatment at the National Hospital. A hospital spokesperson said 2 of them are in critical condition.
Finance Minister Ravikarna Naik has pledged to eradicate the activity of underworld gangs.
The minister expressed these views during an event held to receive proposals for the 2017 budget from the United Trade Unions Front. Drugs and the underworld need to be eradicated from this country. There are consequences. We are not trying to protect anyone. You can now see that when it comes to drugs and other vices, we work within the law. No one receives political patronage. It was most prevalent in my electorate, and we have reduced it to a great extent in my electorate. There is still some left over. We do not need this in our country. We don't need to reduce it. We must eradicate it completely. We have entrusted this to the police and the tri-forces. We have entrusted it to them, asking them to accomplish the task without any political interference.
President Maithripala Sirisena attended a special religious function at the Dharmayatana Viharya in Narayanpeta.
A hostel for Buddhist monks and a hall for almsgivings was declared open by President Maithripala Sirisena at the temple today. Venerable Ulapane Sumangalathero and a number of other members of the Mahasangha were present at the occasion. There are many unethical practices that attempt to sneak into our society under the guise of the technology and the fast-paced development that is taking place. One aspect of a developed society is the awareness on the dangers of drugs. As a Buddhist society and as a religious society, it falls on us to rescue people from social dangers. In line with the President's concept of creating a drug-free nation, today we will be launching a campaign to rid this area of drugs. This temple will be at the center of this campaign, and it will be launched with the support of the Drugs Control Board and the Divisional Secretariat.
The final rites of Vijay Kumar Sulakshan, who was killed in a shooting in Jaffna, was held today.
Vijay Kumar Sulakshan and Nadarasa Gajan died after the police opened fire in Kulapiti Junction in Kankesunturai, Jaffna. The remains of Sulakshan was placed at his residence in Kandarode, Jaffna. According to our correspondent in the area, a large number of people, including university students and government officials, paid their final respects today. Meanwhile, a protest was staged opposite the Jaffna District Secretary's office in line with the final rites of Vijay Kumar Sulakshan. The protesters also handed over a petition to the District Secretary. A peaceful protest was also staged opposite the Northern Province Governor's office.
The majority of raids conducted by the anti-corruption unit of the Ampara police over the last 3 months are into the illegal transportation of sand. Although a large quantity of tipper trucks that transport sand illegally by misusing licenses have been taken into police custody and brought before courts, illegal transportation of sand is continuing. According to the OIC of the Ampara Police Unit has set a record by filing the largest number of cases in court subsequent to conducting raids into the illegal transportation of sand so far this year. The police which conducts such raids and takes action against the perpetrators have to shoulder more weight because the Geological Survey and Mines Bureau gives life to such corrupt activities by fulfilling the needs of sand racketeers in the Ampara district. It was revealed on Action TV recently the presence of officials attached to the Geological Survey and Mines Bureau in the illegal committee headed by the district secretary which issues licenses for sand transportation in the Ampara district. Incidentally, it is the responsibility of the Geological Survey and Mines Bureau to inquire whether such licenses issued are misused or not. The raid reports of the Ampara Police Anti-Corruption Unit would suffice to conclude that the Geological Survey and Mines Bureau, which charges 6,000 rupees per license, does nothing regarding the misuse of licenses. The fact that the Geological Survey and Mines Bureau ignores the conditions set by the Central Environmental Authority and the Department of Irrigation was confirmed during an inspection visit near the Gull Oya River undertaken yesterday by Ampara District Parliamentarian Vimalavira Disanayaka and representatives of several environmental organizations.
The public property, the wildlife and natural resources are being destroyed. There will be nothing left in this country at this rate. The rule of law and good governance are being tarnished while all responsible institutions and the law are asleep.
Sand mining in the Gull Oya River, which is causing grave environmental harm, is being carried out by those who have obtained licenses through the recommendation of Minister Daya Gamage. Although the Ampara District Development Coordination Committee at a meeting held last month reached a unanimous decision to dissolve the committee headed by the Ampara District Secretary which fuels such illegal sand mining incidents, the committee continues to function and the environmental degradation caused to the banks of the Gull Oya River too continues. Doesn't the Gull Oya River come under the purview of the Ministry of Environment? Secretary to the Ministry of Mahaweli Development and Environment, once again, this is over to you.
The 71st United Nations Day was celebrated at the UN compound in Colombo today.
The event was held under the auspices of Minister of Foreign Affairs Mangala Samravira and UN Resident Coordinator in Sri Lanka, Una Macaulay.
We remain committed to working closely with the people of Sri Lanka to achieve the country's development priorities, with the global goals firmly in our sight, and each and every one of us can see how our work.
The event was held under the auspices of Minister of Foreign Affairs Mangala Samravira and UN Resident Coordinator in Sri Lanka, Una Macaulay.
We remain committed to working closely with the people of Sri Lanka to achieve the country's development priorities, with the global goals firmly in our sight, and each and every one of us can see how our work contributes to those global goals. It's time to reflect on what's gone well during this program cycle and what didn't, and how we together can forge a path that will take the country to prosperity and durable peace.
As the United Nations turns 71 today, Sri Lanka's former relationship with the UN turns 61. The United Nations system has helped us achieve a lot over the last 71 years. It has been in the forefront in drawing attention to the greatest problems faced by mankind. Yet, the challenges before us in the world are certainly daunting. The United Nations must take the lead more and more to create awareness among the peoples that our planet is too small and our destiny is too intertwined for us as human beings to not realize that while we respect diversity, We are ultimately one human family.
The 40th meeting of the heads of national drug law enforcement agencies for Asia and the Pacific was held in Colombo yesterday.
The meeting, which is being organized by the National Dangerous Drugs Control Board of Sri Lanka and the Ministry of Law and Order and Southern Development, will be held until the 27th of this month. Today's meeting also saw the participation of the Secretary of Defence, Karuna Senhettiarachchi, and the Inspector General of Police, Pujit Jayasundara.
In Sri Lanka, major illicit drugs used today are cannabis and heroin. Cannabis is the only drug that grows in Sri Lanka and is the most widely produced and consumed illicit substance. Heroin is the second largest and the most commonly consumed opiate. Heroin has become a major health and social problem together with pharmaceutical drug abuse that has recently gained popularity. Sri Lanka is also considered as a transit point for regional drug smuggling. The stark reality that we are facing is that we have not yet managed to successfully stem the drug menace that envelop our societies and ruin the lives of many, especially the youth.
Sri Lanka is an island nation, so there are no boundaries for our countries. But unfortunately, there are drug traffickers. So all these drugs trafficking to Sri Lanka from some neighboring countries in an illicit way. So therefore, we have to take all the steps and the joint efforts by Sri Lanka Police, the Customs and the Navy and other government organizations to prevent drugs trafficking to Sri Lanka.
Diwali Ball 2016, an event organized in line with the Diwali festival, was held in Colombo yesterday. The event was organized by the Colombo Indian Association, or COLID. A number of colorful dance items as well as musical performances by a couple of Indian artists added color to the event. The event was also graced by a number of dignitaries.
And 119. Thank you very much.
And now in sports news, spin bowler Rangana Herath states that he is elated to be appointed as captain of the Sri Lanka Test cricket team. Herath expressed his views to the media today at the pre-match press briefing held at Sri Lanka Cricket Headquarters in Colombo ahead of Sri Lanka's tour of Zimbabwe.
I'm happy to have received the captaincy even at the age of 38 years, especially having the opportunity to lead our national team. The pitch conditions in Zimbabwe may be different, but we must go there, inspect the conditions of the pitches and then reach a decision in consultation with the selection committee on whether to play a pace bowler or a spinner. Although some of our pace bowlers and spinners have not played international matches, I'm confident that they are good bowlers.
Chairman of Sri Lanka Cricket responded to a question posed by a journalist on the contracts of the players.
If a victorious team exists with victorious players who are among the top 10 cricketers in the world, then obviously there is some form of interest focused on those players internationally. If one is to achieve such a status, one must first perform well for one's own country.
With that, we wrap up Primetime News. I'm Bernadine Jazz Singha.
And I'm Sandhu Ferdinando. Do take care and good night.